Hello everybody, Spellsey back again with another quick video. So, as you guys know, I haven't really done too many Red Dead videos recently, but one of the things that I noticed in my short period of time uploading Red Dead videos is that everybody liked to jump on the hype of, these are the best 5 things that I wish I knew when I first started playing the game. But the crazy thing is, people were uploading these videos when the game had been out for like 3 days. There's no possible way within 3 days of playing a game, you can have an accurate assessment of what things are helpful for a new player. There's no way, you haven't played the game enough yourself. So, what I've decided to do now that I've hit nearly 250 hours of playtime in the last month and a half, here is an actual helpful list of 10 things that I wish I knew when I first started that'll absolutely help you out if you guys are thinking about picking up Red Dead Redemption 2 for the holiday season. And no, buying a pig mask and wearing it is not a useful tip for anybody. I don't even know why you'd put that in your video. Alright, let's go in order. Let's start off with number 10. One of the things that you guys will find most useful is that if you have a whole bunch of people or a whole bunch of items in the exact same area and you're trying to loot or you're trying to interact with the game, use your right bumper if you're on Xbox to go ahead and sort through that. You can see it in the bottom right corner. You'll notice that there's like dots in the bottom right corner. By using right bumper, you can sort through which things you're standing on or which things you're near, so you can choose which things to interact with. A lot of times you can miss things because there's like 3 bodies on top of each other, or because you're standing right next to a dresser and an end table and you can't interact with both. So make sure you're using the right bumper to sort through everything that's right next to you, so that way you can interact with everything, not miss any loot, and not miss interacting with any objects on the ground at all. And coming in at number 9, one of the things I did actually not notice until a couple days ago is that if you buy a crafting recipe, you have to physically open it up and read it in order to learn it. Now, it sounds silly when you say it, right? But I had been conditioned to where if you buy a recipe in any game, right, your guy automatically learns it. That's not the case in Red Dead. If you buy a poisonous arrow crafting recipe, you have to actually go into your satchel, go to your documents, open it up, read it, and then you'll get a pop-up that says, you have learned how to craft this item. Moving on to number 8, let's be fair, moving around the world when you first start into Red Dead is kind of a pain in the ass, right? You could go ahead, you need to go all the way from Valentine to Saint Denis, and you don't really want to make that hike, and then all of a sudden you're going past a stagecoach and it says stagecoach unavailable. Well, did you know if you get off your horse and you look at the stagecoach sign, you can actually pull up the stagecoach even if it's not there, regardless of any time of the day. You just get off your horse, look at the stagecoach sign, it'll pop up with a cost to go to anywhere, and you can go ahead and click on that. Also good to note, just like as a little fun tip, the train stations are always open if you have no bounty. No matter what time of day, you can always go ahead from city to city, and it looks like stagecoaches are a little bit more expensive, so if you're in a town that has a train station and you're going to a town that has a train station and you're low on money, definitely use the train stations anyways. But yeah, overall for fast traveling, make sure that you are using the stagecoach signpost. Regardless of what time of day it is, you'll be able to use it at any given time. Moving on to number 7, I haven't seen this post anywhere, but you guys definitely need to expand your compass if you have a big TV. Expanding your compass allows you to see further away from you. It doesn't just make the compass big and then, by proportionally also makes whatever you're looking at big as well. It literally lets you see twice as much on your minimap. This is good because this allows you to see enemies when they still can't see you. So you can see a red dot on the map and you can see them going after you, but they're not actually in your vision. This is fantastic for when you're running away from police or when you're running away from wolves. Being able to know exactly where an enemy is on the map without them being able to physically see you or you're not in their spotting range makes running away from things, or even makes setting up the perfect ambush situation 100 times easier. This should be an absolute necessity for anybody who's planning on playing this game for more than 5 hours. Make your minimap big, especially if you have a big TV or a bigger monitor. You'll thank yourself later for it. I've been playing with a bigger compass and static status icons since I started playing, and it's one of those things that I will never ever go back to just because of how useful it is. Moving on to tip number 6, did you guys know that your horse auto runs when you're in cinematic camera? It is one of the things that it teaches you early on in the game, but I feel like it needs to be reiterated a little bit for a couple of reasons. First off, when the game just teaches you and says, hey, if you're in cinematic camera, you can hold down A and your horse will follow everybody, that's really cool, but there are a couple more things that make it a little bit nicer. One, if you set down a waypoint, your horse will automatically go all the way there, so there's nothing stopping you from being at the bottom right corner of the map and setting a waypoint to the top left corner of the map, and your horse will run the entire way. One of the cool things is you'll actually get bonding levels for doing that as well. But you also don't have to hold down A. A lot of people think that when you're in the cinematic camera and your horse is moving, you have to hold down A for the entire time. That's not actually the case. if you just tap A once, your horse will do a normal kind of walk. I believe it's called a canter, and you'll just go, you know, wherever you need to be all the way there. Overall, the cinematic camera auto walking works pretty well, but there are some times where you run into people. I usually elect to wear a face mask whenever I go through with the auto running, because that way if I accidentally run over somebody, I don't automatically get a bounty or whatever. So definitely wear your bandana. But the other cool tip with this is that if you hit your A button twice and let go, your horse will actually gallop all the way from where you are to wherever your waypoint is on the map. So you could theoretically set your waypoint, you know, all the way to a different town, go ahead, double tap A, and then go to the kitchen, get some food or get a drink, and then come back, and you know, you might be halfway there already. It's really a good way to go ahead and cover ground. You don't have to hold A the entire time, and I think that goes unnoticed for a lot of people, and it's one of the things that I didn't even realize until I started playing online. So it's just one of those things that I definitely wish I knew when I first started playing, and I think you guys will find some use in that one as well. Looking into tip number 5, we're going to stay on the topic of things you can do with your horse. When you hit level 4 bonding on your horse, you can actually calm your horse down, and by calming it down, you can get about 10% of your run energy back, and you can calm it down probably once every 10 or 15 seconds. So you go ahead and you click in on the left thumbstick when you are riding your horse, and you'll hear your character kind of talk to your horse a little bit, and then you'll go ahead and you'll get your horse stamina back, and you can do that every, like I said, 10 or 15 seconds. This is really helpful. Again, you need to have max bonding, max level 4 bonding, but you'll get that really fast anyway, and being able to calm your horse down and get your stamina back is going to help for those times where you're running away from something and you don't really have time to go ahead and slow down and feed it. Alternatively, you know, you can always use a stamina booster, but in many cases that's not just an option at that point. You're going to have to just calm the horse down, get it to have a little bit more stamina, and really just be able to truck on just a little bit longer. So definitely something that I wish I knew right away. I didn't even notice this until I started doing the horseman challenges, and you know, that's something that would have been very helpful in the first 4 chapters of the game. Again, click in the left thumbstick, you'll go ahead, calm your horse, and you'll get about 10% of your run energy back. Super helpful. Now, you guys know I don't like to waste your time on videos, so I'm going to let you know right now, these last 4 tips are absolutely the most important ones that you could possibly learn, but they're not necessarily quote-unquote beginner tips. Like, they're not necessarily hard to use, but they're definitely more of like the, if you plan on playing this game and like being good at it, like you have to know these 4 things, because either A, they'll save you time, or B, they'll make you a better shooter, a better player, or you know, just able to survive in tough situations. So real quick, before we jump into the last few things on the list, I do want to let you guys know that this video is part of a video series that I have been working on for giving you guys tips and tricks on how to get better at Red Dead Redemption. So if you like videos like these and you want to see more, feel free to go ahead and subscribe to my channel, where I'll be uploading Red Dead Redemption videos as long as I continue playing it, and then eventually moving on into some other games as well as new games are released, and you know, I start making videos on those. So I'd love the support. If you thought this video was helpful so far, feel free to drop it a like. But now that we've gone over that, let's hop right back into the video and get you guys what you came here for. Number 4 is using your camp to teleport. Again, when I was going and talking about how there's no way people could figure out, you know, what the best 10 or so tips to use when they've only played the game for 3 days, it's stuff like this that I'm talking about. I didn't realize this at the start, and I don't think very many people did. You can set up your camp from your inventory and actually teleport to a nearby area. Now, this is really helpful, and you don't realize it until you start messing around with it. Let's say you're stuck on a mountain, right? And you're with your horse and there's not really a good way down. You could go ahead and set up a camp and all of a sudden teleport to the bottom of the mountain, or basically teleport to wherever there's a nearby quote-unquote camp setup. So the way that making your camp works is that the game chooses a random spot on the map where they have like a preset camp area, and your guy will teleport to the nearest one, right? That's why you can't use these in cities, you can't use these on roads. They go ahead and they automatically teleport you to the closest pre-made camp setup, and then your guy goes through the animation of setting up a camp, right? Very helpful if you're like stuck on the middle of an island, if you're like trying to fish somewhere but you can't really get the fish off the island, or if you're stuck on a mountain, or if you just want to like get a little bit further out of the city area, or if you need to go ahead and save but you don't want to be like in the middle of the road. Like, you can use this teleport technique to get just a little bit further away and just a little bit into a better situation, because all the camp areas are in really convenient areas. Now also, let's say you're super far away from your horse, like it's not even close to you, right? Let's also act like, you know, you're not near a stable or anything either. You know, occasionally this will happen after certain quests or missions, or you're just nowhere near your horse, nowhere near anything, you're just kind of stranded, right? Well, you could always try to do the camp teleport technique, and sometimes your horse will be there and sometimes it won't. Now, if for whatever reason your horse is still really far away from you, which will happen periodically, if you go ahead and you save the game, and then you reload the exact same game, when you finally get back into the game, you'll notice that your horse is now next to you. This is really helpful, so just remember that. You can always try to do the camp teleport method, or you can just go ahead and save the game and load it back up. They both provide the exact same thing. Teleporting with the camp is a lot quicker, so if you have your horse with you, it's easier to just teleport to your camp, and then all of a sudden you're in a better spot near the road. But if your horse isn't nearby, then just save right where you are and load it, and your horse will pop up right next to you. That's incredibly helpful, and you'll use it more times than you can probably imagine. Really helpful tip. Wish I had thought about this earlier on. This is one of the things I've been using within the last week, and it's completely changed my way of going and exploring or hunting and things like that. Absolutely recommend you guys at least try to get into the habit of doing this. It might break your immersion a little bit, but the tip itself is one of the things that will make you a better Red Dead Redemption player, hands down. Now, number 3, a lot of people have talked about this, but it's definitely a top 3 tip. You need to be using Eagle Eye when you're looting. Now, when you click into Eagle Eye, that's clicking in the left thumbstick and the right thumbstick. It's not Dead Eye, but it's like the version of Dead Eye where you can see all around and things are glowing like plants and things like that. Things that you can loot will glow, whether that's a body, whether that's the chest, whether that's a dresser. It'll all glow, and you'll be able to look at what you've missed. So maybe there's a lockbox you haven't hit in a camp, right? Click in on that, wait a second, you can look around, and boom, there's a lockbox right there. You never would have seen it, right? Boom, that's $25 you could have, walked away from, right? Or let's say you're in a house and you didn't realize that you could go ahead and loot the chimney. Well, now the chimney's lit up, right? These are really helpful things that, if you don't think about it, you're like, oh, well, Eagle Eye is just really for hunting. Why would I ever use that anywhere else? Well, it's actually for looting as well. It's for interacting with anything in the game. If you've ever played The Witcher, this is essentially your Witcher senses. So make sure you use it all the time. Check through all the areas that you're at, where you're fighting, or whether you're at like a bandit camp. Always use Eagle Eye. Make sure you're getting the most out of all the areas, and don't waste any time when you're done killing 30 people. Make sure you get the most out of everything that you just went through. Alright, number 2. This will be a good tip for online and for story, but more or less for online, but you should probably know it for story because it's kind of essential, and that is cover and diving. So we were sitting in a party with one of my buddies, and he was getting smoked by people, right? He's like, dude, I don't understand why I'm so bad at this game. Well, it's because he never covered anywhere. He would never get behind things, he'd just stand out in the open. Guys, this is not Call of Duty. You can't just stand out in the open and everybody else is going to stand out in the open. You have to use the third-person perspective to your advantage. Get behind a wall, cover by hitting right bumper when you're right next to something, or get, behind a barrier, do something that puts yourself from getting shot, because in this game, any headshot will kill you from any gun. And for most body shots, you can only last, 2, 3, 4 shots to the body. You can't just be exposed like that. So again, use right bumper to get into cover. I know it sounds silly, but it's definitely important, and if you don't know how to use cover, you're not going to last at all through any of the story or through any of the online. As far as more for online, I didn't know how to dive until I already had beaten the game, so this isn't necessarily something that you need to do, but it could be helpful. If you hold down left trigger, that's when you have your gun out, and you hold down left trigger and you'll look at, or you'll look down the sights, you'll aim down your sights. If you go and you hit X, you will dive in whatever direction you're pointing toward. So if I have my gun out and I'm looking through the scope by holding left trigger, right, and I go ahead and I'm moving to the left and I hit X, I'm going to dive to my left, right? Same thing, if I'm holding right, I'm going to dive to my right. This is really helpful if you think like maybe a panther's charging at you for single player, or if you think someone's going to throw like a tomahawk at you in multiplayer, or if you think someone's going to get a shot off on you and you're just right next to cover but you're not quite there yet, go ahead and dive. One of the things you'll have to know is your recovery time after you dive. It's a little long. So if you do dive, you're going to end up having to dive. You need to dive to a place that you know that you can take a couple seconds to get back up without getting shot, or otherwise you didn't really accomplish anything. That's more for like multiplayer, but yeah, don't just like dive out in the middle of a field, because when you stagger to get back up, where are you going to go, right? You're just going to get shot again. But, dive behind a wall and use the wall for cover. Use that kind of combinations to take over online, but also use it if you're in the middle of a big firefight in a city you're playing through story, because that one dive might put you in a better situation, and then getting that cover right there might make the entire mission go by twice as fast, and then boom, you've got yourself a gold medal for the mission. So cover and diving is absolutely one of the top things that you can do in this game, and definitely something that you guys will be using 24/7, especially once you get used to it. And we're finally moving on to number 1. So you guys know when I make videos, I like making them more towards what's the most practical. I saved this one for last because this is hands down the best thing that you can do in Red Dead, and it will completely change your game. This is, though, mostly for single player, and that is understanding how Deadeye works and using it correctly. Now, you first unlock Deadeye in Chapter 1, and it's more of a painting kind of aspect where, you know, if you click in with the right thumbstick, you can go and you can paint your targets just by moving over them, and that's where it'll shoot. A little bit later on in the game, you will have the ability to target exact areas that you want to use your Deadeye by using right bumper. Now, let's take a step back. Deadeye allows you to make sure that you hit that shot exactly where those marks are that Deadeye painted. So if you go into Deadeye and you have an X on someone's head, when you go and you activate your shot, you will absolutely 100% hit that shot right there on their head. That's important because once you get further on in the game and you can manually mark spots with your Deadeye, you can immediately hop into Deadeye, target somebody's head, fire the trigger, and then get out of Deadeye. 1, you've used hardly any Deadeye at all, and 2, you just hit a headshot with pinpoint accuracy with any gun. If you're not in Deadeye, you'll notice that you're kind of swaying. You have to wait for your recoil on your gun to kind of slow down. You'll have to wait for the reticle to get all the way to like a small circle, and then you still might miss the shot. I mean, these are guns from the late 1800s. They're not the most accurate. But when you put yourself in Deadeye, you will hit your shot in that spot every single time. Now, if you guys play like me, one of the things that I had issues with in this game was that if I ever got any item or any consumable, I'd be like, yo, I don't want to use this right now because what if I need it later? And that's fair. However, I will tell you, the one consumable that you absolutely have to use is chewing tobacco. Now, what you do is you open up your quick inventory mid-fight, you go over to where your items are, and you use your chewing tobacco as soon as you run out of Deadeye, and boom, you're full Deadeye right then, all the way again, and you can go ahead and keep marking targets. The best thing that you can do is quickly mark a target, shoot the gun, and then leave Deadeye, and just do that for wherever you're fighting. If you think you might need 2 shots, you can go ahead and mark some twice. You guys are seeing on screen how I like to do it. This is hands down the best way to play this game, and it will make you fly through story mode. It'll make all your shots hit. There's no more frustration, and you're going to feel like a badass because you're walking through pretty much everybody without taking any damage, with, you know, dealing pretty much 100 headshots every single mission. It's one of the things that if you don't use it now, you'll wish that you did, and if you do use it and you get used to it, you're going to fly through all the missions and have a great time playing the game, because Deadeye, personally, I think, makes this game what it is. Now, those are my top 5 actually useful things for Red Dead Redemption. If you found this video helpful, help support the dream by going ahead and give me a subscribe, give me a thumbs up, or tell me what you didn't like, or put in the comments on what you would do for your 10 tips if you were to make a video of your own. Thanks for watching and sticking till the end, guys. I appreciate all the support so far. I've been doing great on the videos as of recently, and I'm looking forward to keeping and bringing you guys more content. Check me out on Twitch at twitch.tv/Spellsey if you want to see all of this done live. I love you guys all. Have a fantastic day.